Hey guys, it's your boy Zai back for a brand new video, and today we have got what if Izuku had the abilities of Benimaru. But I'm gonna be so real with you. This is just what if Izuku had an OP fire quirk. Anyways, yeah, I've been gone for like 2 months, and I just recorded the whole thing, and I'm kind of rushing this because I forgot to record an intro. So what else is there to say? Get your pizza, get your chicken, get your salads for you vegans and weirdos. And if you're Mexican, go get your mid tacos. And what else can I say? But let's get straight into this. Our story begins like how all my what ifs begin. Izuku is born. But I don't actually want to start from when Izuku is born. I want to go to when he's 4. Izuku Midoriya does not manifest a typical quirk, as you would say. Instead, during a playground incident, the air around him ignites, not explosively, but precisely. A small marble on the ground turns red hot. It melts, but the grass around it remains untouched. The teachers are confused. Eventually, he's sent to the doctors. His diagnostic, I don't know how to say that word, is internal ignition is his first ability. It's the equivalent of a 3rd generation pyrokinetic, and external flame manipulation, the abilities of a 2nd generation pyrokinetic, and abnormal combustion control. It's just precision and flame resistance. Just helps. They conclude his quirk is a hybrid combustion type emitter. It's named Destroyer of Asakusa. Waka. Yeah, I know. Only real ones will understand that name. Anyways, let's continue with this. But there's still a problem. His flames burn hotter than Endeavor's measurements even allow. Not just hot, but he's so controlled. Izuku is still Izuku in the end. He's still analytical, and he's still observant, but instead of obsessing over heroes because he's powerless, he obsesses because of thermodynamics, combustion velocity, oxygen density, ignition thresholds, pressure waves. He keeps notebooks, not of quirks, but of fire behaviours. He becomes an Endeavour fanboy, by the way. This will matter later on. His dynamic with Bakugo is different. A few weeks later, Bakugo manifests his quirk, Explosion. For the first time in canon, he is not superior. In early sparring, Bakugo detonates, and Izuku redirects his explosions with flame pressure. Explosion versus controlled plasma, but Izuku doesn't dominate him. Why? Because Izuku lacks confidence. He pulls back, fear of hurting people. Bakugo interprets this as weakness. Rivalry forms, but it's competitive, unlike the original, where it's a one-sided abusive relationship. During their middle school years, Izuku trains secretly. He studies flame propulsion, also short bursts, compressed combustion, directional shockwaves, heat resistance breathing techniques. He never tells anyone the full extent of his power. Why? Because once during training, he compresses a flame a little too tightly and creates a miniature sun-like spear that melts even the most dense, tough steel piping. He realizes if he loses control of his quirk, he could kill something or someone, and that fear becomes his new limiter. I want us to talk about the UA entrance exam. The written exam, he's in the top 5%, he's still a genius, he's still Izuku. But during the practical exam, robots flood the field. Other students use flashy attacks, but Izuku does not. He moves like a martial artist, short-ranged ignition kicks, flame-assisted movement, controlled concussive bursts. He disables robots efficiently, not spectacularly. He wastes 0 energy. But then the 0 pointer appears. A massive shadow covers the area. Students panic. Ochako is trapped. Can an Izuku would try to break it himself? This Izuku, he calculates the wind direction, structural support stress, metal melting point. He inhales, and for the first time, releases an attack he's named. Crimson Lotus Drive. He compresses flames into both palms, not outward, but inward. The ground beneath him liquefies. He launches upward using a vertical combustion column. He strikes the robot's core joint with a condensed heat spear. But the fire, it's white. The metal doesn't explode, it collapses. Internally liquefied, the robot falls apart from structural failure. No giant explosion, just total failure. Observers are stunned. President Mike is shocked. He says, that kid just cooked it from the inside. But All Might, he watches silently. That wasn't reckless power, that was mastery. Eventually, Izuku lands near Ochako. His body is intact. He doesn't got no broken bones, no selfless destruction. He carries her away using controlled propulsion bursts. Gentle flame push, not explosive. He scores high in both combat and rescue. But post the exam, the staff are discussing. Recovery Girl says he didn't even damage himself once. Aizawa says his control is absurd for his age. And All Might says, if he was to give 1-4 to someone, it'd be that kid. But I don't even think he needs it. This is a critical moment. All Might doesn't pass 1-4 to Izuku because Izuku doesn't need it. This means later on in our story, Mirio will get 1-4. Izuku stands outside the UA gate. He looks at his hands. Small white sparks flicker between his fingers. Not red, white, hotter, different. He whispers, I need to get stronger without losing control ever again. The camera pans upwards. Smoke rises, but there's no fire inside. Only heat distortion. We now continue with our what if. Izuku, well, he gets into class and he sees a bunch of people. Kirishima, Kaminari, Ochako, that girl he saved, etc. But there's someone his eyes just naturally land onto. Shoto Todoroki. We'll get back into this later on in the story. Eventually Aizawa says, okay, get outside, it's time for the quirk apprehension test. And he says once they start acting like it's fun, this is not orientation, this is evaluation. If you're last, you're expelled. The tension shifts immediately, but Izuku doesn't panic, he calculates. These tests are about output, efficiency, consistency, and physical-based ability. Fire alone can't carry him here. It's time for the 50-meter dash. Izuku does not explode forward like Bakugo. He kneels, presses 2 fingers to the ground, and a micro-ignition blast fires backwards. He launches forward, not airborne, but friction is reduced. Friction? Maybe that's a leak to a what if I might come out soon, I don't know. He adjusts bursts mid-air mid-stride to avoid overheating his leg. Result, he's top 5 in time, before Ida and Bakugo, but he's still ahead of most. Aizawa notes that he understands thrust and modulation. It's for the grip strength test. Instead of brute force, Izuku heats the metal handle slightly to improve grip friction, but does not do it enough to melt it. His muscles do the rest. Above average when it comes to his score. Not absurd, he's deliberately not showcasing his strongest abilities. Then standing long jump test. This is where Izuku surprises a bunch of people. He compresses a flame under both heels, releases downwards, controlled consussive propulsion. He doesn't arc wildly. He glides forward in a slow motion and has a clean landing. He has the second highest jump in his class. Bakugo narrows his eyes. Now, the softball throw. Aizawa gives him the ball, and in canon, Izuku would shatter his arm. No, his finger, sorry. But this time, Izuku stares at the ball. If he ignites it too intensely, the ball vaporizes. If he under-ignites it, it's just an ordinary ball. He rotates his wrist. ignites a spiral compression field around the ball, not touching it directly. Rotate. And a rotating thermal pressure sleeve. He throws the ball and it tears through the air like a railgun. No explosion, no spread. No explosion, just speed. The result, a massive distance, just under Bakugo's explosion enhanced throw. The class is silent. Bakugo is shocked. He didn't know this was Izuku's strength, and this isn't even his full one. Eventually, the final rankings come in. Izuku is third, behind Bakugo and Todoroki. But after class, Bakugo confronts Izuku. "You're holding back," he says. Izuku doesn't deny it. "What if I am?" This is different from canon. There's no victim dynamic. There's just tension, rivalry, mutual recognition. Bakugo realizes Izuku truly isn't weak. He's just restrained. And that frustrates him more than Izuku's inferiority in canon would have ever. Later that evening, alone in training area Gamma, Izuku practices compression. He attempts to recreate that white flame from the robot test. He compresses a red flame, condenses it further, pressure increases, the flame shifts colour. Orange, red, blue, purple, then white. The air distorts violently. He immediately disperses the white flame. His gloves are partially melted. He whispers, "That's not normal combustion." He hasn't mastered this new state yet, but All Might watched from a distance. He realizes Izuku doesn't need the inherited power of one for all. He needs someone to teach him. He needs discipline. And this will change All Might's role in the future. He becomes an advisor, not a power giver. We now cut to what I'd say is a pretty forgetful arc in our story. The 2v2 between Izuku and Bakugo, Ochako and Ida. So, let's begin. All Might will burst through the door and says, "I am here." That's basically all happens. But, speaking of something, Izuku's hero suit is just Benimaru's outfit. I don't know what else you guys expected. He pulls out the orbs and he says, "Teams, heroes, Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka. Villains, Katakuri Bakugo and Tenya Ida. The room stiffens. Bakugo smirks. "Finally, I'll face him." Izuku exhales slowly. He already knows Bakugo will go all out. Pre-match strategy occurs. Unlike canon, Izuku doesn't panic. He analyzes the building's layout immediately. Industrial training structure, 3 floors, narrow hallways, central stairwell, choke points, metal reinforcement beams. He turns to Ochako. Ida will guard the bomb. Bakugo will hunt. Direct clash benefits Bakugo. In close spaces benefit Izuku. It's a battle to the death, some may say. But he then says calmly to Ochako, "Let him come to me." The match begins. Bakugo explodes forward immediately, but Izuku does not meet him head on. He heats the air near the floor, creating subtle thermal distortion. Not visible flames, but heat shimmers. Bakugo enters the hallway at high speeds. His explosions detonate just onto Izuku's unstable oxygen. He stumbles. Izuku steps forwards. Not flashy, but a palm strike. A flame pulse. A short-range concussive ignition directly to Bakugo's gauntlet. Not enough to injure, but enough to destabilize. Izuku adopts a grounded stance. Short steps, minimal wasted motion. Bakugo attacks aggressively. An explosive punch, Izuku just redirects it with his forearm, and then a micro flame burst. He's not overpowering Bakugo. He's adjusting his vector force. Bakugo realizes he's reading me. Bakugo increases his blast output. The hallway starts taking damage. Izuku calculates structural stress. He cannot allow uncontrolled detonations. He slams his palm against the wall, ignites the steel support beams briefly. The heat expands them microscopically. The corridors tighten slightly due to stress. Bakugo's explosion become even harder to maneuver. He's being combined strategically. Bakugo shouts to Izuku, "Stop treating me like I'm fragile!" Izuku finally responds, "I'm not. I'm preventing collateral damage." That line shifts the tone. He's not scared of Bakugo. He's controlling the battlefield. He's treating this like a true hero. Bakugo launches a massive blast. Izuku cannot dodge it fully. He compresses the flame around his forearm. Impact. The explosion meets the condensed plasma. For a split second, white sparks appear. Bakugo sees it. A flick of something hotter than his blast. The shockwave disperses. Outward, not backward. Bakugo feels it. Meanwhile, Ochaka vs. Ida is going on. Izuku trusts her. He previously advised to avoid a direct clash and use debris. Exploit Ida's blind spot. He may be fast, but he's not got the best reflexes. She floats interior supports, creates obstructions, and neutralizes Ida long enough to reach the bomb. This reinforces Izuku's evaluation of the enemy. But for the final clash, Bakugo is still frustrated and charges up an explosion one last time, the biggest one he can make. Full power. Izuku exhales. This time, he doesn't retreat. He steps in, palm to chest distance. Compression ignition. Technique, lotus pulse. A circular blast, not explosive, but internally pressurized heat. It forces oxygen outward in a ring. Bakugo's explosion is smothered mid-form. His gauntlet overheats briefly. He drops to one knee, not defeated violently, but outmaneuvered. Ochako touches the bomb. "Hero team wins!" All Might says. Post the match, All Might walks up to Aizawa. He says Midoriya displayed complete battlefield awareness. Aizawa responds, he never lost emotional control. Todoroki watches this quietly. He recognizes something. Izuku's fire doesn't rage. It obeys him. Bakugo isn't humiliated. He's shaken, because for the first time, Izuku didn't try to catch up. He fought as an equal. That changed their dynamic even more. No more was Bakugo still thinking, oh, he can still become superior to Izuku. Now, it's the only thing he can think about. Late that night, Izuku trains alone again. He replays the white spark moment. He attempts controlled compression. The flame turns as earlier, from yellow to orange to red to blue to purple, then to white. For half a second, the ground beneath him cracks from heat alone. He cancels the flame instantly. He starts breathing heavily. That wasn't even his max output, he says. But this is dangerous. The white flame is exceptionally strong. Now it's time for, you know what it is after this arc. Well, after that arc. The USJ. So, let's just get straight into this. The classes on the bus they're talking about, who's the strongest, Izuku and, what's his name, Shoto come up. But, yeah, that's pretty normal. Anyways, Class 1A enters under the supervision of Aizawa and 13, the person with the most OP quirk in the show. He does nothing. Anyways, there's a bunch of zones, but Izuku's attention locks on briefly to the fire zone. Because the burn pattern is engineered. Layer-fueled ignition, gradients, variable oxygen densities. You know how many words I had to search up just so this could look cool? This entire what if is just me asking AI what a bunch of random words are so I can make this seem better. You know how annoying this is? I literally had to search up what a layered fuel ignition. I watched 5 videos about fire because of you guys. That's why. This is why this is a long video. Deal with it. Anyways. Sorry, my bad. I kind of just crashed out on you all. So, he doesn't say anything, but internally, he's thinking, this kind of environment, high output fire, heroes training, this is crazy. He immediately refocuses though. training comes first. But then the air distorts. A dark portal tears open. So if you just had that, so noise cancellation is not the best. A dark portal tears through. Villains flood in. Kaminari and Kirishima shout, "Awesome! Fake villains!" But 13 turns around. "We didn't hire any fake villains." At the center stands Tomura Shigaraki, and beside him, a towering bioengineered monster, the Nomu. Before anyone can form a defensive structure, warping begins. Students scatter across different dimensions. Izuku lands hard, heat everywhere. Controlled blaze structures, and now uncontrolled. Fuel lines are destroyed. Temperature is rising rapidly. But he's not alone. Standing several meters away, Shoto Todoroki, ice already spreading defensively around his feet. He is in the fire zone. There's no introduction between the two, although this is the first time they really are near each other, speak to each other, or really anything like that. Todoroki is stabilizing the environment with freezing waves, but that risks thermal shock explosions if done too quickly. Izuku recognizes that instantly. He speaks fast. "Don't flash freeze the core. The core flames. Collapse oxygen flow fast." Todoroki pauses. He looks at Izuku directly, not offended, not defensive, just evaluating. Then he adjusts his technique, freezing air paths instead of flame bodies. The fire weakens without detonating. Immediate tactical compatibility is seen within the two. Multiple flame-resistant villains advanced. They expected a chaotic environment. They did not expect two high-level thermal manipulators. Izuku moves first. Short-ranged ignition bursts, not wide flames. Precision combustion targeting, joints and weapon grips. Todoroki follows with containment walls of ice. They are not competing, they're synchronizing. Heat is expansion and ice is a pressure lock. The result together is immobilization. A large fuel tower ruptures overhead. If it collapses, a chain reaction of detonations, of explosions will happen. Todoroki prepares a massive ice suppression wall, but Izuku stops him. "Wait!" he yells. He steps forward, hands ignite, not explosive but dense. Layered combustion shells compress inward. The flames become blue. He stabilizes the burn column instead of extinguishing it, creating a contained thermal chimney of sorts. The flames are forced upwards, not outwards. Todoroki quietly observes the controlled position, then says, that level of heat control, it's incredible. But the implication is obvious. That kind of control is associated with elite fire heroes. Izuku doesn't respond, but internally, he thinks about Endeavor, his hero of sorts, his inspiration. A specialized heat absorption villain emerges from the flames though. He begins draining surroundings, flames, including Izuku's combustion output fire. The environment starts destabilizing. Todoroki's ice begins cracking from thermal imbalance. Izuku realizes standard combustion won't work. He compresses a flame. Denser, hotter, it turns purple. The villain absorbs it though, laughs. Then Izuku compresses further. Pressure spike. The color shifts white. Just for half a second, the absorption stops. The villain recoils violently. The thermal overload of that white flame is incredible. He collapses unconscious, the villain. Todoroki stares, the temperature exceeding normal combustion physics. He says nothing, but he's interested in Izuku. Meanwhile, All Might gets there, engages with Nomu, does his thing, beats up the Nomu, and boom. The fire zone trembles from impact pressure, though Izuku feels the air displacement. Todoroki senses it too. They exchange one look, unspoken agreement, to not talk about what flame Todoroki just saw. They arrive as All Might struggles against the shock absorption though, because All Might still hasn't beaten Renomi, even though I did say boom. But them two together, plus Todoroki, plus Bakugo and Kirishima, well, they help All Might beat Renomi. From a distance, Shigaraki watches Izuku. Not Todoroki or Bakugo. He mutters to himself, "That flame doesn't behave like a quirk. It's something else. I just don't know what yet. I probably should tell the doctor about this." Once Shigaraki leaves, the emergency crews arrive. The students regroup and minimal injuries have happened. Todoroki approaches Izuku privately though. "You're fire. Who trained you?" he asks. Izuku just answers honestly, "No one." Then Todoroki says something unexpected. "Your heat control? It reminds me of my father's combat efficiency." Silence. Izuku tries and fails to hide a small spark of interest. He's not fangirling like he would over All Might and Canon, but the way our Canon Izuku saw All Might is the way this Izuku sees Endeavor, on the inside at least. He replies carefully, "He's the highest output fire hero. Alive, efficiency is logical," Izuku says. Todoroki studies his expression. Something shifts. Not friendship, not rivalry, but a recognition of a shared domain of heat. The Sports Festival of UA. The robot portion occurs, and most students panic or detour, but Izuku does neither. He superheats the joints of the robots like he did in the entrance exam, and the robots collapse from, structural imbalance. Minimal energy is lost from this. Then, it's a massive ice field that Todoroki made. Students slide uncontrollably. Izuku does something different. He lightly heats the surface beneath his feet, creating a thin water layer that instantly evaporates, producing micro pockets that he can run through to get through the ice without slipping. Todoroki notices this. He adjusts his ice pattern path to avoid obstruction. Izuku, they're not working together intentionally, but they're not interfering with each other either. So, on the landmine section, students try jumping across, but Izuku compresses downward combustion bursts in rhythmic pulses instead of detonating mines violently. He displaces ground pressure and ahead of his steps, triggering mines behind him after he passes making a clean route for the rest of his students. In the end, Todoroki finishes first, and Izuku finishes second. In the cavalry battle, Izuku and Todoroki team up. I'm not doing this one. You know I hate this rule. And then it's the tournament. Izuku faces in his first round Shinso. But there's nothing Shinso can say to make Izuku not kick his ass. So, bye-bye Shinso, you're probably burnt and scarred for life. Second battle, I didn't plan the second battle, so I'll say he faces someone like Kaminari. Well, he can control the heat of Kaminari's electricity, so Kaminari can't really do much there. But on the other side of the bracket, Todoroki faced Bakugo in the semis. And Todoroki won. So, let's get to the finals. Shoto Todoroki versus Izuku Midoriya. The stadium goes silent. Two elite thermal manipulators go on. Todoroki opens with a massive ice spike biome thing like in Minecraft. Izuku does not melt it aggressively. Instead, he moves through it, heating only contact zones, preserving as much energy as possible. He reads Todoroki's pattern. Todoroki speaks directly to Izuku. Your fire control, you admire efficient flame use. Izuku freezes for a fraction of a second. Todoroki continues though. You analyze it like someone studying high-tier fire combat. Silence. Izuku answers honestly again. Maximum output means nothing without regulation. The best fire users understand containment. Todoroki understands this. This is not making it any better though. Todoroki. This makes Todoroki see that if he wants to be the best, he must use his flames. He activates full fire and ice. The arena becomes a thermal war zone. Steam explosions, rapid expansion shockwaves, visibility distortion. Izuku increases his output to match. A blue flame intensity rising. The pressure's building. The audience shifts. Todoroki unleashes a maximum fire wave. Izuku cannot redirect all of it. He compresses that same flame inwards. It went from yellow to orange to red to blue to purple to, you know the colour, white. For the first time publicly, white combustion ignites around Izuku's hands. The arena floor cracks purely from the radiant heat. Spectators feel the temperature spike instantly. Endeavor stands up from the seat. He yells, "Shoto! Tell me, do you know about this?" So I can't do an Endeavor impression. Then Todoroki launches a fuel dual elemental blast. Izuku counters with the compressed thermal spear that was that white flame. They collide. Steam detonation floods the arena. Shockwaves spread outward. When visibility clears, only one is standing. Izuku puts his fists into the air, drops to one knee, and is silent. Then the crowd screams. Midnight yells, "Winner of the UA Sports Festival is Izuku Midoriya." And the public headline is UA's combustion prodigy. Let's continue, and we got the choosing hero names. I'm going to skip over this. But Izuku chooses the name, the Destroyer hero, Benimaru, which most of his class doesn't think that makes sense because he's all like controlling stuff. But, you know, the Destroyer of Asakusa, so I just kind of want it. For the internships, Deku has many, but from fire heroes, but one stands out to him, Endeavor. There's also a message with Endeavor's one. It says, "Your heat regulation efficiency exceeds standard combustion training models. I will evaluate whether your output is sustainable in real combat." And Izuku accepts the offer. So, it isn't like UA training. This is real fire management, multi-structural, blaze control, oxygen starvation techniques, thermal rescue entry, flame redirection in populated zones. Endeavor does not praise anyone. He measures. He gives Izuku increasingly complex scenarios. It's like he wants to test him, prove to him that you can't do what I can do, try to break Izuku. He tells Izuku, maintain burn corridor without structural collapse, vent explosive heat through the safe channel, neutralize flame vortex without extinguishing the fuel source. But Izuku still excels at all of them. His combustion behaves like a regulation system, not emotional ignition. Endeavor watches Izuku stabilize a collapsing industrial blaze using layered pressured heat funnels, perfect containment, zero outward spread. Endeavor finally speaks. Your flame density scaling is abnormal. It increases under compression rather than destabilization. He's describing white flame behavior without seeing full activation. He continues, if pushed beyond control limits, what happens? Izuku answers truthfully, I don't know. Endeavor doesn't react outwardly, but internally, that answer matters more than any display of Endeavor's power. Also interning by Shoto Todoroki, their dynamic evolves, though real professional work. Oh, so sorry guys if I sound out of breath here. I was just playing volleyball, so yeah. So, professionally out of work. Professional work. Not rivalry, not competition. Comparison through observation. They study each other's heat regulation methods, occasionally train together. and they have short exchange only, such as your venting timing improved, you increased your pressure tolerance, your flame control is better. Technical communication, nothing else is needed. Then, Hosu City incident. By patrolling, when Izuku hears a yell, Stain. Ida is yelling. Stain is about to kill him. Izuku arrives following the emergency heat. He can see the sense of the blood. He sends a message to Shoto to meet him there. He senses controlled violence, not chaotic destruction. He enters a dark alley. Stain is there, watching him already. Stain studies Izuku silently. Izuku stays in a defensive stance, measured ignition around his hands, contained radius. Stain continues what he was saying to Ida. Most heroes burn to be seen, to be famous. Wealth, fame, and power. That's all they want. Yes, that's a One Piece reference. And then he looks at Izuku. You burn to regulate, though. You're not like the others. I can tell. This isn't mockery. This is an assessment. Stain moves with lethal precision. Close range, blade arcs, mobility, dominance over Izuku. Izuku does not blast upward, though. He fights like he trained. Micro-ignition counters, heat pulse parries, flame-assisted footwork, minimal flame projection, maximum control. Stain's blood paralysis is about to activate. He cut Izuku's arm slightly, but before he can ingest the blood, a sudden ice barrier intercepts. Shoto Todoroki has arrived on the battlefield. Immediately, Izuku and Shoto start synchronizing. Heat expansion, ice compression, movement restriction. Stain breaks through the containment of ice with pure physical will. He charges directly towards the injured Ida and random hero. Izuku must act instantly. Wide flames would risk collateral damage. He compresses heat inward, harder than ever before. Flames turn white. Just for a second. It's the Stain. He releases a forward linear burst, not explosive, a concentrated thermal pressure beam. It pins Stain against the wall, melting him to said wall. But it doesn't burn the surroundings. Pure force from heat density. Stain cannot move. Pinned but conscious, he looks directly at Izuku, not angry but satisfied. You do not wield power for yourself. You may live as a true hero, he says before being knocked unconscious. As always, Endeavour would get all the fame and glory for this win, but Stain's words will always live in Izuku. After they get back to school, it's time for the final exams. Now, usually, it'd be Izuku and Bakugo versus All Might, but in this timeline, it's gonna be Izuku and Todoroki versus All Might. Izuku understands something immediately. Brute heat output is meaningless here. All Might's durability exceeds combustion damage thresholds. Victory will require impact redirection, heat-assisted movement, and more. This is the first time Izuku consciously shifts from a fire user to more of a combustion martial combatant, more similar to Benimaru's style. All Might charges directly, shockwaves shatter her pavement. Izuku doesn't counterattack. He lowers his stance, feet angled, torso centered, hands relaxed, a grounded posture resembling traditional flame-style martial positioning. Not something he was taught, something his body naturally chooses when facing overwhelming force. Instead of projecting flames outwards, Izuku uses micro-bursts from the joints, his ankles, his elbows, his palms, to kind of like wax on from Cobra Kai. And Todoroki instantly notices this is a new style of Izuku's fighting. All Might throws a full smash at Izuku though, and Izuku compresses heat in front of his forearm, not as a flame, but as a dense thermal pressure. When the impact hits, the force disperses outward in a ring of circular shock. The ground fractures, but Izuku, he's still standing. This is not elemental offense, this is impact redirection using combustion pressure. Very close to our very good friend Benimaru, Shinmon's style of fighting. Todoroki freezes structural pillars. Izuku rapidly superheats only the internal supports. The buildings partially collapse, creating obstruction layers for All Might, thus shaping the terrain to fit them the best. They cannot defeat All Might, they know this, so they switch thinking. Their goal is to escape. Todoroki uses his ice as a barrier between them, and they run. Izuku is so close, but then Shoto throws one last punch. Not Shoto, All Might throws one last punch. Shoto blocks it, but he knows he can't escape too. He uses his ice to push Izuku just a tiny bit forwards for one last combustion burst, and in the end, Izuku escapes. The students win! All Might says Midoriya's combat form has changed. He's using fire like a structural force, rather than an attack. Now it's time for the forest training camp. So, let's just begin. During the night of the training camp, Izuku's supposed to be practicing sustaining flame expansion and compressing his flame as much as possible. But during night training, Izuku experiences something interesting. Concentric combustion rings around his body. Layered heat shells rotating at different speeds. Defense, pressure regulation, impact buffing. The structure resembles a rotation flame guard. Not yet perfected, but clearly evolving beyond standard pyrokinesis. But then night falls again. The League of Villains attack. They invade. Tomura Shigaraki and multiple elite operatives cause chaos. Students scatter. Explosions ignite forest sectors. Winds spread flames unpredictably. Izuku does something unprecedented. He stops attacking enemies first. He regulates the wildfire. He creates heat corridors guiding flame direction away from students. He is controlling an entire burning forest section like a fire brake engine. That level of environmental dominance is exactly what Benimaru is like, and that's the story we're trying to tell here. Fire is no longer an attack, but it's territory. Close combat, hand-to-hand ignition. A high durability villain, Muscular, rushes at him. Izuku does not blast at Muscular. He steps forward, one palm strike, a micro detonation at the center point of the combat. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. No visible flame, only concussive ignition. Then a knee strike, ignition bursts from the joint. Every physical motion amplified by combustion pulses. But then a massive flame surge begins spreading downhill towards Kota, and too wide for it to be extinguished normally. Izuku stands, he raises one hand and compresses the heat inward. The flame bends direction, they funnel, they spiral upwards into a vertical column. He just redirected a multi-source of wildfire into a controlled burn pillar. No panic, no strain, just authority over fire itself. Fire, the flame obeyed him. But then a powerful villain breaks through containment and charges at speed. At full speed to Izuku. Izuku compresses heat even further than before. The white flame ignites, but this time it doesn't flare violently. It condenses around his arm like a mantle. Stable, dense, silent. He delivers one forward thrust. Thermal pressure blast launches the attacker backwards without ignition spread. The white flame duration increased major. It was 52 seconds. A major leap in control. The pros eventually arrived. And, well, it was all fine. But then, there was something no one knew. Bakugo was gone. The training Oh yeah, sorry, I'm recording this on a new day and I feel really sick, so might not be the best, but hopefully I manage. But I just gotta get this video out because I haven't uploaded since December and that's just really bad for me, so let's get back to this. The training camp aftermath spirals into national crisis. Katsuki Bakugo has been taken. There was no public announcement about this, but something feels wrong. Too quiet, too controlled. Izuku senses it immediately. Not logically, instinctively. Something in the balance of forces was shifting in this world. Heroes locate the League's hideout. Buildings, urban evacuation begins. Buildings shattered, fire spreads. Shockwaves tearing through the district. This is not controlled combat. This is catastrophic scale engagement. Izuku resists going to the front lines even though he's not allowed. But the heat signatures there are unlike anything he has ever felt. Not flame, not explosive, something heavier. Two presences collide. All Might and All for One, and Izuku watches from a distance. It basically just goes the same. All Might's force is overwhelming though, and in the end, well, as I said earlier, it ends up being the same. They get Bakugo back, All Might delivers the finishing strike, and victory is achieved, but the symbol of peace collapses afterwards, and publicly, his small Might form is shown. Izuku just analyses the battlefield's residue. He's not even crying over the truth about All Might or anything like that. That's all that happened. And then next up, the students regroup later, the dorm stuff happened. No, I don't usually cover what Izuku's dorm looks like, but it feels like it would just be like Asukusa's design, if that makes any sense. Bakugo's in decent condition. And the next arc we've got after this one is the provisional license exam, but I'm going to skip it. It's time for the, overhaul arc. And Izuku is still invited by Mirio to come join Sir Nightai's agency. So, the underground Yakuza place with Overhaul, we all know about Overhaul. But a child is discovered, Ellie. Her ability rewinds biological existence. Overhaul is just using her to manufacture their race ability. So, anyways, I kind of just want to skip to the raid. So, the raid is led by Sir Nighteye, and Izuku joins the assault team. This is not chaotic combat, this is corridor warfare. Tight spaces, hostages nearby, zero margin for uncontrolled heat expansion. Perfect environment for high-density combustion control. Inside the compound, Izuku's fighting style fully transitions into something newer, something he's been practicing. He stops using wide flame bursts entirely. Instead, poor ignition thrusts, elbow combustion counters, hill-based propulsion clicks, rotational heat pressure shields, and more. Every motion is close quarters combustion martial art. His stance is now naturally grounded and centered like a shrine guardian, maintaining a sacred flame. No conscious decision, but his body simply fights that way now. It's become natural. Overhaul collapses corridors constantly though. Concrete reshapes, walls spike outwards. Izuku begins doing something he's never done before. He stabilized structural temperature to prevent sudden reconstructural failures. He is literally regulating the thermal integrity of architecture. Fire is no longer an attack for him, it's structural law. Overhaul ends up shooting Mirio and he loses his quirk. But it's time for the final fight. Emi is back on Izuku's shoulder, rewinding him. Overhaul merges with surrounding matter and it basically becomes a new fire. But outside, and a new technique manifests. Izuku is rotating a compressed flame shell that reinforces his body durability, multiplies the impact form, vaporizes incoming matter on contact, prevents environmental ignition spread, and it turns white. This is the closest he has come to true high-level combustion authority because he has everywhere. He advances directly through overhauls reconstruction waves. Every step evaporates structural reformment. Overhaul cannot rebuild fast enough. Izuku reaches him, and you know the move Benimaru does. His favourite one. You basically like make an L out of your hand, press it to the stomach of whoever you're fighting. Boom! I might put the video up on there for you all. So, it's time for Night Eye's analysis over that. Oh yeah, hold on, Night Eye's analysis. Yeah, because Night Eye lives, the goat lives in this timeline. So, Izuku, was just telling Evi, like, her quirk isn't bad. And now, it's time for what arc is it next? Oh yeah, this is the point where I just stopped scripting. So everything is from here is just like on. So I'm gonna quickly check what arc is next. And I'll be right back, y'all. I go time skip to about a month later. And it's around the time of the final war. I know this is a big time skip, but who knows how long this video is, and I'm getting tired and I'm sick and I have 7 videos. Yeah, hints, I'm dropping the hints. My goal get done by March. So, let's get right into this. The final battle is a ruined city zone, as we know, and Shigaraki arrives. He doesn't announce himself. The ground simply crumbles. A wave of decay spreads across streets, swallowing steel, stone, vehicles, everything turning into dust like paper. Izuku stands alone at the head of the heroes. No nervous muttering, no frantic analysis, just stillness, unlike a normal timeline. His coat sways silently in the heat radiating off his body. Oh yeah, for his hero suit he added on the Fire Force coat. You know, the blue one that like Shinra wears. Even though this is a Benimaru what if, and I know Benny doesn't wear that. Anyways, a quiet flame burns around his shoulders, controlled, dense, heavy. He speaks calmly to Shigaraki. Stay back, Tomura Shigaraki, or we'll have to end this. Even the pro-heroes hesitate. They understand what Izuku's trying to say. This fight is between him and Shigaraki. He doesn't want to risk others getting hurt. Right here, Izuku doesn't feel like a student. He is the front line. He feels like a walking disaster, contained by discipline. Shigaraki moves fast, blinding speed. Izuku doesn't dodge. He steps forward. His foot hits the ground and the air detonates. Ignition ability. Expand. Not just explosions anymore. Now it's a directional blast propulsion, like miniature sunbursts firing from precise points around his body. He moves like a shockwave given human form. Every clash produces bursts of flame shaped like compressed spears, controlled plasma ignition. Shigaraki notices immediately. You're different from the last time I met you at the USJ, kid. Izuku answers simply, I refined the heat. Shigaraki adapts as always. He stops rushing blindly. Instead, he spreads decay in layered waves, forcing Izuku to move constantly. But something has changed in Izuku's combat style. He isn't reacting anymore. He's dictating the tempo. Just like how Benimaru would. Minimal movement, perfect timing, just like the Fire Force way. He raises one hand, a spiral of flames forms, but instead of exploding outward, it compresses inward. Then releases a focused beam of white thermal force that carves a molten trench throughout the battlefield. Not wild, not flashy, just precise destruction. Shigaraki smiles. Now that is power I want. I want that boy's quirk. Shigaraki stops playing. He lets decay surge outward in a full radius wave, unavoidable. Ground, air, debris, everything disintegrates towards Izuku. Izuku launches upwards with ignition bursts, but Shigaraki is already there, faster, stronger, evolved beyond his previous limits. He grabs Izuku's arm, and decay is about to begin instantly. Izuku tries to burn that arm off, or burn the decay, but this decay is faster than the flame purifies. For the first time in this war, in this story, Izuku is about to lose. Shigaraki's hand reaches his face. You burn bright, but eventually you will be ash. Now, I will have your quirk. Thank you, hero. You have made me, the symbol of fear, stronger. But then, a gust of wind tears across the battlefield. It's weak, it's fading, but it's unmistakable. All might, barely standing, body ruined, power almost gone. He uses that one gust to sprint to Izuku. He reaches Izuku, places one trembling hand on his back, and smiles. You already carry the spirit of a symbol. Now carry the power too. He forces Izuku to digest a bit of his blood. Energy surges, not gentle, not gradual, but one for all transfers instantly. The last ember of the symbol of peace ignites inside Izuku's core and merges with his internal sun. This is not standard one for all, because Izuku's body isn't a normal vessel. It's already a combustion engine, so all for one for all doesn't just boost strength, it becomes like fuel. His flames change colour, deep gold, then blue, then purple, then white, then black. Temperatures skyrocket beyond previous limits, yet perfectly contained. He doesn't scream, he doesn't panic. He exhales slowly, like a master adjusting to a furnace at valve. His aether burst has awakened. Heat radiates outwards, but stops at a fixed perimeter, a circular zone around Izuku. Inside the space, air becomes superheated. Flame responds to his will instantly. Pressure bends around him. Ignition occurs without motion. He has created territory, like a commander of his own battlefield. Shigaraki hesitates for the first time. What did you do? What have you become? And Izuku just answers quietly. The one who burns what threatens this world. Shigaraki charges again. Desperate, furious, evolving further. Izuku raises one hand. No wind up, no motion. Just command. A pillar of solar fire erupts upwards, engulfing Shigaraki completely. But he survives. Of course he does. So Izuku compresses the flames inwards, creating extreme pressure. Yellow, orange, red, blue, purple, white, black, then a colour that mixes all of them. It's like a rainbow. It might be clear, it might be a halo. We'll never know because it might never be seen again. But then, in one punch, not brute force, ignition assisted kinetic release, plus one for all reinforcement, plus thermal compression. Impact sounds like a star collapsing. The shockwave splits clouds miles above. Shigaraki is blasted across the battlefield. Body regeneration trying its best. But for the first time, the regeneration isn't working. The smoke clears, Izuku stands still, flames dim slightly, but never they extinguish. Behind him, heroes stare in silence, not cheering, not celebrating, just stunned. Because what they just witnessed wasn't just heroism, it was authority over destruction itself. A power that doesn't rage, it just decides. It defeated the greatest villain to ever exist. Izuku is a wielder of one for all, a master of fire now. But this is incredible. Listen, that was long, this was great, and Izuku evolved. This was great, and Izuku evolved. He's now known as one of the #1 heroes. He goes by the Destroyer of Asakusa still, Benimaru. Sometimes people call him Waka. It means Destroyer. And this arc was purely just 8 minutes of me rambling about a fight. But yeah, I hope finally done of this arc. I can exit the closet. Yes, I've been kidnapped. Someone's made me their ghostwriter. It's this guy. In the top right corner, y'all. He made me a ghostwriter. Yeah, exactly. Don't trust him. Just OM, don't trust him. Anyways. Yeah. Did I mention the sub race? I don't think I did. But yeah, still in the sub race against Toby. He's currently winning, so let's overtake him, boys. What else is there to say? But as I said earlier, 7 videos need to be done by March. And what else is 7? Drop comments on like animes that have 7 people in it. That'll be cool, yeah. Anyways, I hope you all loved this one. I did. It's really long, so it's gonna be a pain to edit. I was gonna make this a short film like I usually do, and then like edit the full thing, but this is like a while, so no chance anymore. Anyways, love you all.